So let's start at the beginning. Web 1 arrived first, and this was the initial incarnation of the internet we are all familiar with, but a read-only version. Next came the social web. Web 2 heralded the arrival of social media. Now with Web 2 you can read and write. You could go to a place like Twitter, for example, to read content as well as posting and creating your own content. But Web 2 is centralized around a handful of huge organizations such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, TikTok and Twitter. So in this model we need to hand over some information in return for having an account to use these services. Now with Web 2, every time you create and publish content, it's actually those corporations we just mentioned which own the content and often controlled by governments who set up regulations within those territories. This allows those companies then to generate revenue from advertising, derive and monetize insights from the personal information they harvest from us, as well as deciding who has and doesn't have access to their platforms. So in this model then the drawbacks for consumers are pretty clear. Now Web 2 came together, it was the quickest and simplest way to build a network infrastructure. Someone pays to install some service somewhere, set up some software, and then people like us come along, want to access these services online, and then that company either charges us to use it or let us use it for free as long as we abide by their rules. Now this has led to a shift towards something called Web3. Web3 is centered around three specific pillars: decentralization, ownership and participation. So if Web 1 was reading, Web 2 was reading and writing, then Web 3 is about owning a piece of the things that you create. Web 3 is all about breaking down Web 2's one-sided design through decentralization, and blockchain is a big part of this trend. Now the premise behind Web 3 is that consumers now become creators, actually owning virtual assets within a decentralized digital world. The democratization of the web ensures that no one person, organization or government can have control over large amounts of data. Essentially, it's the removal of the kill switch. With Web3, there's a big difference where people, including my own children, have grown up with games like Roblox or Minecraft where they can get a new level of access into an immersive world to build and create things within the games using the tools provided. Minecraft's been around for some years now, but it has a new lease of life in the Web3 era where people are actually building businesses within the game. And that brings us to our first concept around Web3, which is smart contracts and NFTs. Now, what are NFTs? Well, it's short for non-fungible token. There you go. Still none the wiser? Sorry, of course, non-fungible more or less means that it's unique and can't be replaced with something else. So for example, a Bitcoin is fungible. You trade one for another Bitcoin and you'll have exactly the same thing. But a one-off piece of artwork stored digitally, however, cannot be exchanged for the same thing. This is non-fungible. Now, NFTs can really be anything digital such as drawings, music, your brain downloaded and turned into an AI model. But a lot of the current excitement is around using the tech to sell digital art, and we'll come back to that a little bit later with an example. Now, the transfer of these NFTs or digital goods and services on the blockchain is underpinned by an electronic version of a promise known as a smart contract. Smart contracts were first described by Nick Szabo in the 1990s as a set of promises specified in digital form. Now in practical terms, this looks like a rule actioned autonomously by software where a certain condition is met. Now an example could be when the price of a stock hits $100, then sell it. Or if the temperature dips below 10 degrees, then order a heater from Amazon. NFTs are minted through smart contracts that assign ownership and reassign it when transferred or resold. Now at a basic level, smart contracts act as a tool to implement the sales agreement. Okay, so now we know a little about NFTs and smart contracts, but how do they work in the real world? And for that, we need to get back to an example, so let's go back to digital art. One of the main reasons NFTs are taken off in the art world is down to how NFTs and artists can work together to create new projects and take ownership of their art. Therefore, as an artist, you do your thing as usual, but you register it on the blockchain, which creates a unique digital asset. As we've already learned, this is the NFT. Now, acclaimed digital artist Mike Winkelmann, better known as Beeple, created a record when his single piece artwork titled Every Days, the first 5,000 days, sold for $69.3 million. And this was at a Christie's auction in March 2021. The artwork is so named because it's a collage of 5,000 individual images made one per day over more than 13 years from 2007 to 2022 by people. Now, at $69.3 million, it's a staggering $15 million premium over Monet's painting of water lilies, which is actually the real physical painting. But it gets even crazier than that, because you can copy a digital file as many times as you want, including the art that's got an NFT embedded within it. So think of this as the equivalent of having a physical print of an original painting. Only one person can ever own the original, while many can own prints of that original painting. Now, crucially, it's the ownership of the work that the NFT protects. Buried within the OG NFT is a piece of code which identifies the original piece of work. Any copies will be just that, a copy. And the system is designed to deal with this. It's worth noting now that the artist can still retain the copyright and reproduction rights, just like with physical artwork too. Now, our second concept then that this leads us to is blockchain. Now, this is the catalyst behind Web3, and Web3 was driven by the advent of blockchain technology in many ways. Blockchain is a relatively new method of storing data online, which is built around two core concepts of encryption and distributed computing. The blockchain technology applies encryption in a way which ensures only the person which owns the asset has the ability to access it regardless of who owns the computer the data resides on, whether that be an organization or government. And this comes back to that decentralization point I mentioned at the top of the video. Now, if you're familiar with cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, then this concept should sound familiar, as Bitcoin is powered by blockchain behind the scenes. The distributed computing element, though, ensures that the data is shared between many computers or servers. That results in more than one copy of the original data. Not only does this provide redundant copies in the event of a hardware failure or disaster, such as a fire or flood, it also allows the blockchain technology to check if one particular copy of the file doesn't match the others. Now, this adds another layer of protection to ensure that whoever's in control of one copy of the file cannot change it without the permission of the person and without the knowledge of the entire distributed network. When you democratize anything, there are always new challenges and questions to be addressed. The democratization of data, for example, needs to ensure the organization has a reasonable level of maturity when it comes to data, along with some oversight or governance to keep things on the right track. And Web3 is no different. So on that theme of governance, it brings us to DAOs, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Now, it's a concept or collective term for a group, organization that are bound by rules and regulations baked into the blockchain. In its purest form, DAOs are groups that are formed for a common purpose, like investing in startups or buying a bunch of NFTs. DAOs are essentially a governing body which aim to oversee the allocation of resources tied to the projects they are associated with. They are also tasked with ensuring the long-term success of the project they support. Now, once it's formed, a DAO is run by members, often through the use of crypto tokens. These tokens often come with certain rights attached, such as the ability to manage a common treasury or vote on certain decisions. Those with a stake in a DAO then get voting rights and may influence how the organization operates by deciding on or creating new governance proposals. DAOs are still relatively new, and although the concept is gaining some traction, there are still some crucial implications which need to be worked through. DAOs, for example, can span multiple jurisdictions, so there's no all-encompassing legal framework for them to operate within. Now, next up, we've got a Metaverse. Now, the Metaverse is touted as the next evolution of the internet's user interface through which users communicate, interact, and share data, as well as connecting in the online world. Now, it aims to build an experience so immersive it blurs those lines between the physical and virtual worlds. It's a term that, surprisingly to me, was developed some time ago, back in 1992 to be exact, in a book by Neil Stephenson called Snow Crash. Since then, movies such as The Matrix and more recently Ready Player One have played with the theme of users being immersed within a virtual world rather than being stuck on the outside of it looking in. The Metaverse is now less science fiction and beginning to move slowly towards reality, fueled by Facebook, who even changed their name to Meta as part of a huge investment and a strategy to go all in on the Metaverse concept. Now, founder of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, aims to bring this concept to reality. Zuckerberg felt the time to jump on board for the ride for technologies such as virtual reality are reaching a tipping point of maturity in his opinion. Now Meta actually purchased a VR virtual reality hardware company called Oculus for $2 billion as far back as 2014 to kickstart their Metaverse journey. Meta has recently attracted some unwanted attention from the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, although this is mainly for their approach of trying to corner the market by spending and buying their way to the top through the acquisition of technologies and talent rather than attempting to build these technologies themselves. One thing though which everybody tends to agree on is that in the metaverse you are represented by an avatar. This gives the user the sense of being actually inside the metaverse. Now these avatars may take 3D human form and even look like a digital representation of the user themselves. Within a game, it could be almost anything you can think of. Another important principle is that you can move through the metaverse seamlessly and regardless of the platform you are on, be it a laptop, iPad, mobile phone, you can pick up where you left off. Now our next Web3 concept is blockchain gaming. So blockchain games are video games that have their underpinnings powered by cryptocurrency, smart contracts and NFTs, bringing some of the concepts we've introduced so far together. Now it is also known as Web3 games, play to earn or PTE games or cryptocurrency games. Within these games, NFTs are meant to be used for in-game items such as clothing, gear and weapons, for example. However, they could also power a crypto-based game economy. Now, as we discussed in the Web3 section at the top of the video about democratization, the ownership elements are critical for a blockchain-based game. In-game assets or in-game currencies are owned by players, which are traded in exchanges and markets, and currencies are all examples of in-game assets. There's also an element of collectability, as players hold on to their digital objects and collect them. Established gaming companies like Sega, Square Enix and Ubisoft are set to launch wallets with NFTs incorporated into blockchain games over the next few years, while Web3 native companies like Gala Games, Mythical Games and Animoca brands will become a part of the next generation gaming. Now Web3, like a lot of the tech industries in 2022, had a bit of a rough year as cryptocurrency prices plunged in the midst of the macroeconomic upheaval, the war in Ukraine, COVID-19 pandemic fallout, and an impending economic downturn. In 2022 also saw the rise and fall of a traditional game, Minecraft, which you mentioned earlier, being reimagined with a blockchain backend, allowing users to build and create items in the game before trading them with cryptocurrency, essentially incentivizing users for their time and effort spent within the game. Creators with the game ultimately was banned by Minecraft owners Mojang, deciding that it wouldn't allow NFT integrations with its game Minecraft and allow others to generate revenue from their own game. Now, as you can see, blockchain gaming is a rapidly evolving space, with bedroom startups competing with the big boys for potentially huge rewards for those who are able to successfully navigate this uncertain landscape. So next on our list is revamping social media. Now make no doubt about it that it's not just Facebook exploring how to jump aboard the NFT bandwagon. It's adapt or die in the uber competitive world of social media, where the competition for eyes and time on their platform is paramount to securing lucrative ad space deals. Creators on Instagram will soon be able to create their own NFTs and sell them both on and off the platform. They'll have an end-to-end toolkit from creation and showcasing to selling. Now, people can easily support their favorite creators by buying their digital collectibles directly within Instagram. YouTube has also indicated that will incorporate NFTs into their revenue model for creators in the near future. And finally, our seventh and final Web3 concept is decentralized finance or DeFi. Now, traditionally finance systems require a middleman, such as a bank or a broker, who act as an intermediary between buyer and seller. This operating model adds complexity, cost, and delays into the financial system. It also means these organizations have a huge element of control over the end-to-end financial system. Now, decentralized finance or DeFi is an alternative finance system which is built on blockchain technology again, without the need for a central authority or intermediaries. And a few examples of DeFi applications are exchange platforms, and these platforms allow users to trade cryptocurrencies and other digital assets in a decentralized manner, using smart contracts to facilitate the exchange of value. Lending and borrowing platforms is another use case, and on these platforms, it allows users to lend and borrow digital assets, often using smart contracts, which we mentioned earlier, to automate the process. Another use case is payment platforms, and these platforms are allowing users to make payments using cryptocurrencies or other digital assets, often with lower fees and faster transaction times than traditional payment methods. There's something called stablecoins, which are digital assets designed to maintain a stable value relative to a specific asset, such as the US dollar, for example, so it's less volatile. And they can be used to facilitate transactions, reduce that risk because they're attached to something in the market that people know and trust already within that cryptocurrency arena. Another use case is prediction markets, a platform that allows users to bet on the outcome of future events using smart contracts to facilitate the process and ensure fair outcomes. In insurance, there's platforms that allow users to purchase insurance policies using digital assets, often, again, with lower fees and faster processing times than traditional insurance companies. Automated claims processing and reduced paperwork are also some benefits over that traditional insurance model. Now, there's many advantages to be gained from DeFi, but there are challenges and trade-offs to be considered. Given that DeFi is mostly unregulated at the moment, it's a magnet for fraud and money laundering, and it lacks those consumer safeguards that exist in traditional finance. So in 2021, for instance, it's estimated that more than $10 billion was lost to DeFi scams, according to research from Elliptic, who are a blockchain analytics firm. The sheer number of companies and use cases looking into how to leverage DeFi is a positive sign now and shows that there's potential in this area. The open source nature of DeFi encourages innovation, and there are many talented people, academics and practitioners alike, working on these challenges today. If they can find solutions without undermining the unique properties at the core of DeFi, it could become an important building block for the future of finance. I hope you found this video on my top 7 Web3 concepts useful and valuable. I hope I demystified some of the marketing hype for you. If you did get some value, keep watching, keep subscribing. New videos come in very soon. Looking to grow your skills this new year and looking to fulfill your career potential. Maybe you've been frustrated by being stuck in a dead-end job in your company, or your employer hasn't necessarily invested in you and you're stuck working with on-premise systems. Well, this is exactly why I designed this course, this program, Mastering Snowflake. My members join me and have typically got 10 to 15 years experience in IT and data specifically. They've often got a lot of skills and experience that they've poured time and effort into over the years, and they want to be able to leverage that to the best degree. So they come to me, they're often quite confused about where to start. There's so many overlapping technologies out there, there's so many different buzzwords, and I want to really help you and these people cut through all of that marketing hype and really get a good understanding of how to design and deploy solutions for the cloud. I choose Snowflake because I find it really empowering to work with. It's really easy to get up and running. It's got a lot of good features and concepts as well. If you come in from an on-premise environment, will be really game-changing to you in terms of your day-to-day role. So I'm basically packaged up everything I've learned using Snowflake since 2017 across a range of implementations. I've now got a number of recipes, if you like, that allow you to take the out-of-the-box capabilities of Snowflake, package them up to address real-world business challenges. This will save you time and effort. All of the kind of mistakes and everything that I had to make initially to get to this point, you will be able to kind of fast track yourself to that. So as part of the program itself, I provide all of the hands-on demos, the code I use, the code templates, and the patterns I use with my enterprise scale clients. You also get access to a exclusive members only group to get expert advice and share knowledge, not only around Snowflake, although we do have a number of obviously discussion points around Snowflake itself, and that could also include certification or interview guidance and advice, but we also include any tools and technologies around the modern data platform space, whether that be DBT, Matillion, Fivetran, Stitch, Elation, Atlan, Power BI, Tableau, you name it. We've all got different experiences we can bring to the table. I also conduct live 60-minute group coaching calls, which are completely optional. And people from around the world turn up to those and ask me any questions, whether that be around technology, whether that be around data strategy, or architecture advice and guidance. Your investment in yourself in terms of getting into this program will continue to pay dividends to you, because obviously Snowflake is changing every single month, and all of those updates are fed back into the program periodically over time. So it's all being designed by myself from the ground up. It's very practical, it's very hands-on, provide in-depth background, not just around the theory, but with real-world case studies and then practical hands-on activities within each module. So if you're interested, this is what it looks like in terms of the course breakdown and the structure. You can apply. At the moment, we've opened the membership up for new applications. There's a link in the video description below. Please hit that link, apply to join. I'd love to have you as part of the program. The key thing for me is making sure you're the right fit and you're going to get the most amount of value from it. Thanks so much for listening. All the best on your Snowflake journey.